Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets playing one of their final home games for quite some time. 6 out of the next 7 on the road. But first things first, they got the Chicago Bulls in town. Jokic finds Michael Porter Jr. for 3. And then how about this time around, Murray doing the finding to the big fella, Jokic, on the receiving end of a dime. 9-0 run. Nuggets got them sitting pretty early. But the Chicago Bulls are fighting to get in this play-in tournament. They got a Nikola as well, and he arguably was the best Nikola on the floor as Vucevic nails the 3. And then out in transition we go. It's DeMar DeRozan for show. Chicago getting to the rack a lot. Levine gets the bucket to go, and at the half, it's a 1-point game. Third quarter, more Nikola Vucevic. He had 25 points and 15 rebounds. This time around, MPJ is going to miss the 3. Caruso's going to swing that thing up court to Zach LaVine, right in stride so you can see my glide. LaVine lighting it up in Colorado. The trifecta is money. Denver doing something that they don't have to do often, which is catch up. They're down double digits. Bruce Brown throws it down. 8-point game. Reggie Jackson finding that man. It's Jokic. He had 18, 12, and 8, so no triple-double. He's averaging 10 assists right on the dot, though. Bulls could care less about that. It's Vucevic inside plus the foul. And then how about DeRozan forcing the turnover on Jokic? He could have threw a nasty off-the-backboard alley to Levine. He keeps it for himself because he can fly as well. DeRozan and Levine pair up to take down the Nuggets. A rare home loss for Denver. It's a pretty unique chart that I found floating around on Twitter. I did verify to make sure it's correct information. Nikola Jokic, in his first 8 seasons, is the only MVP ever to not have played with a guy selected to an all-star, all-NBA, or all-defense. Check this list out, man. I mean, again, look at some of these guys that have graced this list. Again, this is their supporting cast in the first 8 seasons of their MVP's careers, right? Like, so Jokic, obviously at the bottom of this list. Again, none of those things that I mentioned, no guys that have been all-stars, all-NBA, all-defense. So this kind of debunks a little bit of Kendrick Perkins' his comment made on First Take about Jokic being a guy that is winning MVPs because of the voters kind of siding with him being white. This is a guy that has played with minimum help. We'll talk about it more in a second. Also, I saw Charles Barkley, the also polarizing. He recently was on the Altitude Sports Radio, and his response to Perkins was, his comments were asinine and silly. Asinine, silly, and stupid. Pick one of the words, whatever one you want. One of the things that's silly about ESPN at times is they do this silly debate every year about the MVP going back and forth. When I played, they did a lot with LeBron, which makes me laugh too. Derrick Rose won it. He deserved it. Kevin Durant won it. He deserved it. It's a regular season award. It ain't who the best player it is. It's who had the best regular season. But every year ESPN gets these fools on radio and TV to talk about who's the best player. I do think some of the MVP conversations are foolish. By the way, Charles Barkley, don't do that. Y'all talk about MVPs on Inside the NBA as well. I just want to point that out there. It's not just ESPN. Sometimes y'all go too hard on ESPN. Sheesh. But I do believe, let me tell y'all the biggest problem. I'm going to reveal the real problem. Your boy FERRO, y'all know I got y'all covered. Here is the truth of the matter. The reason why a lot of these MVP conversations go so stupid, and this is no shot. Y'all know I like Kendrick Perkins. I've said this many times. I think Kendrick Perkins is on the right side in history. I like Kendrick Perkins. To me, he was one of the better ESPN hires in the last 5 to 7 years, if you want me to be honest with you. Let me say the truth, though. The reason why these MVP convos go left with a lot of talent is you can tell they're not watching the games. That's the problem. That's the true problem in these MVP conversations. And what I believe a lot of the MVP voters are doing is at least a couple times a week, they're checking the stats and they're at least dialing in on what's going on. Now, I believe a lot of the MVP voters should be watching more basketball. I follow a couple NBA reporters that have MVP voting, right? They do vote on this award, and I've called them out. I've said they need to watch more games. But I believe they watch much more basketball than some of the analysts at networks like ESPN and many others, FS1, many other networks out there. The problem is these guys ain't watching the games. That's the true problem. And they get offended when they look up and look at Giannis's stats or Joel Embiid's stats and look at the points per game and compare it to Jokic's, and they're like, wait, how in the hell is a guy averaging 30 not winning the MVP over a guy that's averaging 24 and a half but dropping 10 dimes when a guy like Giannis is still averaging around 6 assists? The problem is if you watch the games and not been so Hollywood to not actually sit down and watch the games, you would know why I believe Jokic is the clear favorite to win MVP and why I believe the MVP voters are getting it right this year. Again, MVP voters are not as clueless as some of these analysts are on TV. That's not a personal jab at Perkins, but I'm just saying this is one of those things where you can tell. Look, like if you watch the game, you watch the product, you always know who doesn't watch the product. Now, maybe some of us just watch entirely too much of this stuff. I actually get paid to do it. I don't know why you do it. I'm just playing. But you can tell the guys that don't watch the product a lot. It shows when we have these MVP combos because they always trying to flip it, like Chuck said, to a best player in the world conversation. Giannis is the best player in the world. I stand by that wholeheartedly. Y'all know I love Giannis. Giannis is not the MVP this year. It's Nikola Jokic for a third time in a row. I continue to say the same thing. Jokic will continue to win this award. The way he plays the game, his availability, caters to the regular season MVP award. He will continue to win this award until he loses a playoff series with his full strength of Denver Nuggets. That is where we're at. Don't get mad at the player. Hate the game. Ain't that how to say it? Whatever. I'm out.